Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. An absolute pleasure to have you here with us today. Maybe you could kick off with a brief introduction to your film, A Piece of Sky. For people who don't know anything about it, how could you just give us a little glimpse of what they can expect?
Yeah, you could describe it as a special love story set in the mountain world. For me, nature plays an important part, and it's also a main character in the film, the mountain world.
And what was your initial inspiration for the story? Because, yeah, it's set in such a specific location, but then there's this unique love story that plays out. So which kind of came first, and how did you develop that into the idea for your full film?
Yeah, in the beginning it was like really the love story I was interested in, and like a story where you could do the experience of someone like your partner is changing, and still she finds something in him which doesn't want to lose. And I think it's really touching because it's quite difficult. At the end, she succeeds to preserve her love for him in a way. And then I thought it would be interesting to do it in this mountain world, so that you could also mirror a little bit his inner life, her inner life, with nature and the setting around them.
Tell us about your cast, because particularly at the center, the incredible pairing of Michelle and Simon, and because the character's kind of an unlikely couple maybe at first glance, but there's so much tenderness and affection and what feels very authentic. That they're so in love. So how did you decide on them? And then, of course, for the rest of your cast, I believe, it's non-professional actors. So how did you kind of manage all that from a directing point of view?
Yeah, all are non-professional actors, and I think for me it was quite right to do it with them, because somehow in their bodies, in their faces, you can see the mountain world, how it is living there, growing up in this world. I wanted to put these two characters together because Anna is a really fragile, nice, lovely woman, but in the end, she has got really a strong inner strength, And Marco is quite the opposite. He's in the beginning, like physically, he's so strong, he's so impressive, but he has like a quite sensitive core, something like this. And during the illness, he discovers also the sensitive part in him, and it's good to play with opposites.
And I was wondering a bit about the logistics of filming it all, because there are so many scenes where we're really watching in what feels like such an authentic way, the local people going about their farm work. We're up in the mountains, we're with the cattle. So that must have been quite hard to kind of set up in terms of setting up your scenes. So how did that all work? And were there a lot of challenges that came up in trying to capture all that?
It was a challenge, but we set the shooting in a different way. So we decided to have like 70 shooting days, a long time to shoot the film, but with a really small crew. So we were like 10, 12 people, but we had time. And we often used like a documentary situation, like normal life or some situations which we discovered, and then we put our characters in this situation. So was the way I wanted to convey a really authentic experience.
I was also really interested in some of the decisions you made about the way it's shot. We often, at the beginning, seeing Marcos work, like from behind, and we see his broad shoulders and the sweat coming down. When Anna is dancing for him, we don't see her, but we see his gaze towards her. When he kind of forgets the cow, we're so far away from what's happening.
I think in cinema, it's always really interesting what you cannot see in the frame. So this gives a certain tension, and it makes you curious about what's going on beyond the frame. And I wanted to use this as a strong element in order to put some formal design against this documentary approach. So I think these two things are working quite nicely together.
I was also interested in so we talked about the location, we're in the mountains, but also animals, are there so constantly throughout. And both, you can see that they all have a joy working around animals, but there's also a brutality and a ruthlessness. It's like working on farms, obviously, if an animal is not useful anymore, then they're, put to death. So what role do you think nature has in the film as a theme, and how it kind of contrasts and runs in parallel with the human story?
Yes, it said a little bit these parallels are a little bit set in the story to the animal world and the humans in it. But I think it's, in the mountain world, animals are, you could say, like part of the family of the farmers. The difference that the farmers work with them. So if they are useless in a way, they have to handle it, and they use the meat or they have to get rid of them also. And it's quite harsh, but it's also interesting question whether we do it in the same way with our family members, for example. That's the question the film puts a little bit. What do you do with a man who is like acting really strange and loses his control? And I think it's a really strong approach of Anna, that she is telling, like, in a straight way, no, human beings are not responsible. He is not responsible for his disease, for his illness.
I was also interested that, there's stretches of time that kind of play out wordlessly. The dialogue is very stripped back, even, between Anna and Marcos, even when she's talking to her friend, it's quite kind of, but there's also a calmness about that community. So even though the communication seems quite sort of stilted, there's actually something comforting, and the fact that even when something shocking happens, there is no huge hysteria or drama. So is that something about, you think, that society and community that you wanted to say?
I would say that's quite the thing I discovered in the mountain world, that people often react quite calm to also difficult situations. And I think it has something to do with the nature they're growing up, because if you grow up in the mountains, in contact with so strong energy in the nature, also with the nature can sometimes destroy something, and so you are aware that you cannot control everything in life. That's an experience you have very early and all the way through life. If you live in the mountains, I think this experience helps to rest calm in those situations, and that's also one thing I learned about the thing, that it's better to go step by step and rest calm rather than act hysterical.
And coming to the way Marcos does react to his health issue, did you have to research a lot about that and the specifics of that? And it's maybe something that people don't really understand very well. And it's like how to cope and how to react is really challenging, particularly when there's sort of safeguarding issues as well. Instincts as a mother or as a parent are going to kick in. So trying to balance your care for one person with your care for another can be very challenging. So how did you kind of want to portray all that?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research on it. I learned a lot about it, and I think that's exactly the thing which I was interested to ask yourself, how to balance it. You have a responsibility for your family, Anna, in the case of Anna, for her daughter, but also for her husband. And so how do you deal with this situation? I think it's not so easy. It's not like right, wrong, but you have to find your own way, and you follow your own compass in a way in order to find the right decisions, I think.
So there is tragedy in the story, but there's also a lot of love, and there's also what feels like quite a lot of contentment looking at people who live so simply in some ways. What do you hope people will take away from watching the film?
As I said, to rest calm if things are getting complicated, and also to maybe to take out the speed sometimes in life. It's so important that in some situations you take your time and you concentrate on the very important in life.
And what does it mean to you to have the film showing here at the Berlinale, and particularly that people will see it on the big screen? Because almost as you're saying, even watching a film, watching it on the big screen forces you to slow down and really drink it in, whereas it's too easy when you watch things at home maybe to be distracted. So is that a really big part of the cinematic experience?
For sure. Slowing down in this big theaters like cinemas, it's so great for the film. And I think for this film you need the big screen. You need the big images to somehow find a way into this world. And I'm so happy to be part of the Berlinale, of the physical Berlinale. And I feel very honored to be in this competition with so many great film directors and films. I'm very happy.
And do you know what you're going to be working on next already? Can you give us a hint, or you're still thinking?
Actually, I didn't have time really to think about the next film, but I'm sure this place I found there, like the Alpine world, like the mountain world, will play a role in it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the time in
You're
Berlin.
welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.